Before we get into it, if you enjoyed these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button, and keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that.
All right, folks, here we are on Sunday, March 16th. We're going to take a look at NIO today. So we've been keeping up with NIO week to week here, and what I've been harping on time and time again is this 183 EMA. And what do we see now? We see it having had some really strong motion above this earlier on last week, and then pulled right back down to it. To a large degree, this is what you would very much expect, right? It gets a strong run. This is a plus 17% day. This day ended up down a little bit, but I mean, it spanned such a range. And so putting in that strong of a motion through the 183 with all of the other EMAs below the 183 still, everything is just sort of like gravitational pull on that price action back to the 183 because it's extended so far above the short terms, and it didn't pay any due to the 183. So it makes sense to me that it comes back down, retests it. Now, best bullish case scenario, comes down, retests it, and takes off, right? Puts in a swing high 550 or above. Then maybe you're off to the races a little bit. Other possible scenario, best case bearish scenario, is it looks like this. Now I know it's not the exact same candlestick count and whatever, but it looks like, oh, strong action, right? This was a plus 10.5% day. That's nothing to sneeze at. And then it pulled back a little over 3%, right? So a relatively insignificant seeming pullback. But that was an inside bar, and it just fell right back through the 183 and just started getting pushed off of the 8, what we just talked about. Right here, all of the EMAs were relatively close. Over here, you do potentially, the thing that is maybe a little nice about this is you do have the 8 potentially being able to provide additional support there, and just having to then persist in the battle against the 183. It doesn't mean it's going to win, but as we saw on the wick here, it may provide that support. But ultimately, in a bear's dream, what might end up happening is it was a valiant effort, like we saw here. It gets pushed down, and then it's just getting beaten down by the 8 again, right? And that took it significantly down, right? It was up in the 6s here, and then it found itself in the 420s down here, and then ultimately at 401. With just a little bit of a wiki move toward the 183. So it's an interesting time. It made a motion relatively recently too here, and it looked mighty like that. But having it remerge or resurge back to the 183 is quite interesting. And again, given the fact that these short-term EMAs are still persisting in a bullish pattern, maybe it has an opportunity to lift, but we'll see. There's so many macro forces in effect right now as well. I know last time my take was that NIO was outperforming, like QQQ, for example. I still tend to think that that's the case. But I don't know how much it can weather the storm, right? At some point, macro forces become so strong that it could wither even one of the stronger moving stocks at the moment. I'm not going to pretend that NIO is a stronger stock in the stock market, but it's been a strong mover recently, sort of swimming against the current, if you will. But yeah, that could throw everything really askew. But if we just go on balance, everything else stays relatively normal, which I think is unlikely. But if it does, I would be looking to this 8 EMA. Can it win that battle with the 183? Can the price action at least sort of pin itself to the 183 and give that 8 a chance to come up and scoop it? Just scoop it and carry it. Best bullish case scenario that I have as it pertains to that stuff. So levels wise, coming right off this 536 level that we have, so we have these levels up to here, and then pulling back down. Now if it does come back and it can't catch something in the interim, 455 would be a level that I would look at, but at that point it would, I believe, have lost these EMAs. Yeah, right now the 34 is at 550 or 451. So yeah, if it comes down here and needs the 455, that probably means it's sort of like testing support on the 34 EMA or something like that. It'll probably be sort of within line. But yeah, huge sort of range gap here. So could it kind of hang out and put in some additional price action and sort of sort that stuff out? Yeah, for sure. And then you might see something like that, giving it time at the 183 for that 8 to come in and try to scoop the price action up. Now, think or swim wise, trigger, fire, nothing really happened. Lengthy trigger, now just starting to fire, right? We've been tracking the trigger for a while, and are we going to get a big outsized move here? That's what we're looking for, especially in a re-trigger and a refire. Now, as of the end of last week, it's putting resistance off of that call trigger. It had that call trigger in sights, but it couldn't burst through. If it could, 531 is the call trigger right now, has a +1 ATR up to 750. If things get juicy the other way, red juicy, then the put trigger at 395, so well below the levels that we've been talking about so far, with a -1 ATR down to 176. That seems crazy to me, but we could be living in a moment where the crazy things could happen. If it gets into April and it's relatively unscathed and about in line with where it is now, you could look for this, a range to the upside potential of 767, downside potential to 213. So we have some time before we get there. So I don't know that it will just maintain this, but it could if it puts in a lengthy, sort of a flat fire here, and nothing really comes of this trigger and fire. Then yeah, it could just be its base ATR for the month at the time being anyway, and it's sort of relatively mid-range to the channel, so it could be a nice spot for it to chill. I just, given the motion, given the trigger and fire, and given the world economic forces at play, I would be really surprised if it doesn't have an opportunity to throw that move one way or the other, big boom, big bust, before the month is through. But weirder things have happened. All right, folks, so I hope that you have had a good weekend, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.